What's going on, everybody? It's Jonathan from Gig Nation, and today we're going to be looking at the top 2 scams that you need to watch out for when you're shopping with Instacart. Now, unfortunately, there are customers out there that are going to try and take advantage of the system. Now, this is not all customers. Most customers are kind and courteous. You're going to get tipped well a decent amount of the time, and it's going to be a good flexible gig for you. But you do need to watch out for these scams because as an Instacart shopper, you are an independent contractor, and that means that this is kind of on you to spot these out. If you don't, it could take a hit on your earnings. You might not get paid for certain items. You might not even get paid for an entire batch. And it could also hurt your tips. It could hurt your ratings. So you really do have to be on the lookout. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first scam that you need to watch out for when you're shopping. So this scam is really quite simple, and it makes it kind of easy to point out. When you're shopping on the platform, a customer is going to order a batch like they normally would, and then at some point they're going to decide that they want you to just leave that batch, leave those groceries on their porch or somewhere like out in the open where the batch might not be safe. And they're going to let you know about this in the app or give you a call. And so what's going to happen is you're going to go ahead and drop those there, and then a little bit later down the road, you're going to get a notification that the batch wasn't delivered, and the customer is going to say that they didn't get the items. Either the entire batch went missing or just a couple of the items no longer showed up. And basically they're looking to get these items comped by Instacart and Instacart support. They don't want to pay for them, so they're going to blame this on you, the shopper. Now, fortunately, there are some precautions that you can take to kind of avoid this scam. And the first one is to message the customer. If they ask you to do this, message them, take a picture of the items when you leave them at the front door. Now, if possible, also get the address in this picture so that it's confirmed that you did deliver the groceries to the right address. Now, I also recommend using a clear plastic bag as often as possible in order to avoid this. And that's because when you're taking that picture, if you have to leave the items on the porch, this is going to kind of confirm that as many of the items as possible are in that bag, because you can actually see them through the bag. It makes it harder for the customer to claim that you missed a couple of items because you literally have photo evidence of those items on their porch. Now, I also recommend that when you're sending this message to the customer, not to really add any text, because it's really easy to get yourself in trouble here. If you're rude, if you say something like, hey, I delivered them on the porch, but it's no longer my responsibility if they go missing, this is really gonna piss the customer off. It could give you a worse rating, and you're probably not gonna get tipped if you do something like this. So, if you do add some text in there, be very careful and make sure that you're still being courteous. Don't just assume that because someone asks you to drop an item on the porch that they're trying to scam you, because this is really bad customer service if you go into it with that mentality. And I mean, you can have that mentality, you can take the safety precautions, just don't let the customer know, that you have that mentality. And once you've gone through these initial steps, make sure that you give Instacart support a call. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a phone number down below. Make sure that you just have this number on hand so that you can always get a hold of Instacart support, because it is important to notify them as soon as possible. And you can do something like just give them a call and say, hey, something weird is happening on this batch, and let them know exactly what it is. And that way, if it does turn out, that the customer claims that items weren't delivered, Instacart's gonna have some record of that. They're gonna have the phone call. They can start kind of, taking measures to see if this was potentially fraud. And they're also gonna have those messages in the app that they can look back upon and review this and, make sure that you get that money paid out to you as a shopper. And this is a very important part of the equation. It's really on you to call support and make sure that you're still getting paid for batches like this. Make sure that they know that there's a problem, because once again, you're an independent contractor. If you just let stuff like this slide, if you don't check back on it, then it could end up docking your earnings, and it takes a hit on you at the end of the day. Instacart wants to make sure that the customer is happy. It's a customer-centric business, and some customers are going to take advantage of this. That's what they're doing here, trying to scam you. It's not Instacart's really responsibility to look after you, to say, hey, did something weird happen here? That's really your role. That's your job as an independent contractor, as your own business owner, to make that call yourself. So let's take a look at the second scam on this list. And now this is kind of an indirect scam. A lot of times, customers aren't necessarily trying to get you in trouble here. They're not necessarily trying to get free items, but that can be the case, and it also can be the outcome. So you really do have to get a heads up here, know what's happening when you're going into it, and know how to deal with it to kind of minimize the risk and minimize any potential losses. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see an Instacart order, and you're going to see a lot of items on it that are very irregular. You're going to notice something is weird right off the bat because they're going to be asking for specific items that are hard to find. There's going to be weird exceptions. Maybe they'll ask for like a gallon of juice and then put somewhere down in the notes that they really only want 16 ounces of juice. And you know, that's confusing. That's gonna not give you a clear idea of what they want. You're gonna have to take some time to request a replacement. You're really not gonna know what to do here. Do they want you to go with the notes? Do they want you to go with the item that was requested? It's kind of hard to tell. And there's gonna be, you know, potentially a lot of items like this showing up. You could get asked for 2 6-packs of soda instead of just 1 12-pack. Maybe they want a really special brand of cookies that you don't normally see at places. Just like off-brand stuff that's very hard to come up with, very hard to find. And another weird one here is deli items that are sliced in a specific way. You know, it's kind of an off request. Normally people just want a specific type of meat, but asking for a real specific slicing is just kind of an easy way to create some sort of potential error. You know, it creates risk that the butcher at the shop slices it wrong, you deliver it, and you give it to the customer and it's not to their liking. So if you don't kind of spot stuff like this and notice you know, different ways that this could be of an issue to the customer and point that out, let support know, then the customer could end up complaining after the order is delivered and getting those items for free, asking that they're comped from Instacart so that they don't have to pay for them. And that could end up coming back on you as the shopper for missing items. And it's really not your fault if items are extremely peculiar. This could be hard to do. It's definitely not an easy task to find very irregular items and stuff that really just includes excessive directions and steps and ways that could really just trip you up as a shopper. And a lot of times what will happen on batches like this is when you call the customer, you know, potentially you've just marked a few items within the batch and asked for a replacement or asked if you can just refund the customer. They might say, you know, no, I don't want a replacement. They're obviously very picky here. They're not going to want, you know, something different than what they asked for. They might just cancel the entire batch on you. It's definitely something that I've had happen before. And Instacart customers, when they cancel that batch, all of a sudden you've spent a whole lot of time in that store and you want to make sure that you still get paid for it. So this is another one of those situations when you definitely have to have that support contact number, and you have to be very transparent with support about what happened, when it is happening, to make sure that if you've been at the store for a certain amount of time, that you're still getting paid for that it's still going to end up getting paid out. And at the end of the day, your time is valuable to you. And if you're going to be shopping, you need to make sure that you're getting reimbursed for that time. Now, it's important to note that as an Instacart shopper, a lot of the responsibility is on you to be courteous, to be kind to your customers, even if they are, you know, making excessive requests and being very difficult to shop for. You do still have to deliver that exceptional customer service. And so it's one of those areas where you really have to tread the line. You know, it's possible that the customer wants to get free items or is being overly difficult, and it's possible that that could waste your time as a shopper, but you really can't communicate that to the customer. You have to be as polite as possible and just relay what's going on to support in the case that something does get canceled, or in the case that an item is marked as missing when you end up delivering that batch to the customer. So once again, I'm going to leave that Instacart support number down below so that you make sure that you have it on hand. It's important to just have that ready, be ready to communicate with support when stuff like this ends up happening, because that's going to be your main go-to, that's going to be your bridge, and that's really going to be the way to make sure that you're getting compensated in these difficult circumstances. So let me know down in the comments if you've ever run into any of these scams while shopping with Instacart, or if you've ran into other scams. And it'd be really cool to know if there are other scams that you've noticed popping up, because we just want to get all of this information out there so that other shoppers can really be aware and know what to look for. And that's just the best way to avoid stuff like this, is to know what it looks like, to know how to prepare for it, and to know what to do in those circumstances. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be a ton of other gig economy updates, rideshare updates, and tutorials that can help you along the road of becoming an independent contractor.